Look out. Today's episode of An Askewed View is about the cartoon series Clerks. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, Travis Hayward here with That's My Entertainment. I'm here with Jordan Brandis for the latest episode of An Askewed View podcast. We're here today to talk about a very underrated animated series, Clerks the cartoon, or Clerks the animated series, we should say.
Yeah, it was a strange little cultural blip in Kevin Smith's filmography. Like, it was there and gone, and it was so very unique. And it's had a much larger life on DVD, but like beyond that, when it first came out, like it only aired 2 episodes. It was crazy for him.
Yeah, so, 6 were produced, only 2 aired, and the 2 that aired were actually aired out of order. It was like episode 4 aired first, and then episode 2, and then that was it. It just ABC completely removed it, and it was like just it had disappeared there for a minute because I think, since it had just been canceled so quickly, there was really no interest. But a lot of Kevin's fan base really pushed for a release eventually, and it ended up hitting VHS and DVD at the time. So, it's great that it ended up being out there, and it kind of having it out there could kind of spawn this like weird little cult following. Like there's a fan base like specifically for Clerks the cartoon.
Well, let's talk about the time and place of when it came out. It came out in 2001, which was still at the peak of the View Askew universe. I mean, you've got Dogma and all that had just come out. The name Kevin Smith carried a lot of weight. It still carries a lot of weight, but then especially like, hey, I'm going to a Kevin Smith film. So, I mean, you would think like now if they tried it, like, it's a Kevin Smith, he's in it, Jay's in it, the original cast is in it, it's probably get a second season renewal before it even got released.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it would have happened today, and fingers crossed it may happen again soon, then it would. Honestly, it probably would. I mean, especially with all of the streaming services now, like Netflix and Hulu. I'm sure one of them with all of their with all of the more, not to say that Clerks was necessarily an adult cartoon, but it was definitely aimed at a larger audience. Like there wasn't as much cursing and vulgarities as you would find in a Kevin Smith film because it was for network TV. But
it was also on ABC primetime.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the nature of what it was, which probably ended up working against it.
Yeah, and they even poke fun at that in a couple of the episodes. Like I think it's either the last or next to last episode, they actually poke fun at that. Like Dante and Randall go to a convention, appearing as themselves as the stars of ABC's hit comedy Clerks, and and there's only like 2 people in the panel, and their questions are. Their questions like aren't even questions. They're just like, we love the movie Clerks, but your show kind of sucks. I mean, like what, like this evil billionaire guy, like it feels like a Simpsons ripoff.
Kevin has always been meta. He's always been self-aware. Yeah, I mean, it's like he pulled the same thing with Reboot. It's exactly the same thing.
It really is. It really is. And but yeah, just going back to where it to when it had started, like it actually well, it was in production for a number of years, but it actually aired. I think like maybe end of 2000, beginning of 2001 was when it aired. In that year, like before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, it was between Strike Back and between Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and they had actually planned on. They actually had multiple ideas for more episodes. I mean, when ABC first sanctioned it, they did it as part of a deal because Disney had owned Miramax at the time, and since Disney also owns ABC, Harvey Weinstein. This is actually a crazy little tidbit of trivia. Due to the success of the Tigger movie for Disney, Harvey Weinstein initially wanted to make a Clerks animated film and put that in theaters because he was like, oh, the Tigger movie grossed over $100 million. We can do that with Clerks. And Kevin,
what's exactly like Winnie the Pooh? Clerks. It's a natural progression. Why wouldn't you do that?
Exactly.
It's got to share the same demographic, clearly.
So but that was the original plan. It was gonna, it was gonna be a movie first, and then Kevin had, I'm not sure exactly how the talks ended up for it to be a TV show, but it ended up becoming a small 6-episode season of a TV show, and those 6 episodes got produced, but then it ended up, once it hit, like, the ratings for the first episode weren't what they were hoping, because it was on a primetime slot. I think it was at 9 o'clock on Monday or something. So
it was strange. It was like in between Scrubs and something else. And it just didn't fit at all, and it was just it was the wrong thing. But at the time, Cartoon Network and Adult Swim and all that were just coming about. If they had delayed it a little bit and maybe had a cable network, it would have thrived. I mean, look at Family Guy. Family Guy got 1 season, 2 seasons, and then got canceled for a little while, and then came back, and it's endless now.
Exactly. Like, it was so it actually it got popular due to the reruns being shown on different networks like Adult Swim and TBS. So that was what happened with Family Guy. So it really, it goes to say that, and that's even kind of happening. That's kind of how some of the younger generation is being exposed to Clerks now, because Adult Swim actually picked up. I think both Adult Swim and Comedy Central both at some point in time have come together to show the reruns of the Clerks animated series, even though there's only 6 episodes. And apparently the ratings for those have actually really, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's really gaining more of an audience. Like, I can remember when I was in high school, I think it was Adult Swim that was playing it, and everyone that I had talked to in school was just like, oh, have you seen this new show that's playing on Adult Swim? It's called Clerks. And I'm like, that is not new, my friend.
Some guy named, it might be Kevin Smith. I don't know. He's really obscure. You wouldn't have heard of him.
It was just, but that was a lot of my friends at that time, that's how they were kind of introduced to the world of Kevin Smith, was through seeing those reruns of the cartoon, after Aqua Teen Hunger Force on Adult Swim, so it's kind of
that's the perfect audience. That's the perfect demographic. You're going to stay up here probably, stoned out of your skull to watch Aqua Teen or Squidbillies or whatever. You're in the perfect state of mind to watch Clerks. Because the cartoon itself is scattered. Like all things Kevin does, he's playing with a different genre. So as much as it's Clerks, it's not really Clerks. It's almost its own unique animal.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually, while we're on that, I actually kind of want to touch on, last week I was lucky enough to go to the LA showing of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, the Roadshow tour. And with Kevin was actually there to introduce the movie and do Q&A after, along with Jason and Jason Mewes. And an audience member had actually asked that question, is there a chance that, we may see an animated version of the Askewniverse, maybe not necessarily like the Clerks animated series, but just, like a Jay and Silent Bob animated series with all the characters or something, and on Adult Swim, because I feel like that'd be perfect for it, because they still apparently, this audience member had said they still play those reruns of Clerks. I haven't watched Adult Swim in some time, but I was like, wow, they're still, playing those 6 episodes. So, Kevin's answer, though, if I could mention it here, Kevin had actually said that right now they're their priority is to make the live action Clerks 3. That's actually really well underway. He said they actually have stuff set in motion to get started early next year. He said that after that, he's spoken with Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson about, potentially pitching a new animated series, when having them come back as the voices. And I really, really hope that does come to pass, because I love this show, and I love, I'm actually, I've actually kind of dipped my toes into voice acting a little bit myself, so it really, I feel like this would be, such an incredible, thing to happen for the Askewniverse.
Well, one of the perks of voice acting too in cartoons and all that is it's been some time since the Clerks were of Clerks age, right? But once you're in a cartoon, you can stay 25 forever. I mean, they can still run within a little universe where they're still in college or whatever, because their voices are the same. You put them wherever you want it to be, and they can live for years and years and years beyond the basis of, the Clerks are now 50 or 55 and, going to be on Medicare, and we got to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's, and I feel like if they were to continue it, in the animated medium, it's you can kind of, and you even see that in these 6 episodes where, with animation, you can kind of get away with a little more into the world of absurdity and things that wouldn't necessarily make sense in a live action medium. There's certain things that happen in these episodes, like the episode where oh gosh, Bear is driving.
Well, I mean, you say certain things. It's really not like this isn't a King of the Hill type cartoon. This is fully aware that it's a cartoon. And yeah, I mean, the thing you just referenced, hey, we're going to be in anime now. Okay. We're going to climb up a wall and pretend to be Batman and Robin because we can.
Exactly. Or what is it? They're trying to sneak into the building, and should we take this door or should we take the museum, the maze of death?
Yeah.
And it's what is this? Crazy, but.
Well, the humor was just so wildly different than anything else that had come before it. And I think it's because for the first time ever, he was given free reign. We've been talking about this a lot in previous episodes, but he's always been restrained by a budget, right? The first Clerks was black and white because it had to be black and white. Everything has been done on a really tight, small budget, and he's pulled off miracles in producing and directing. But with the cartoon, you don't need that much money to create insane scenarios.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, not to, at least not to the extent of a feature film. Definitely. It takes much longer to create, but as far in terms of budget, really, it's a fraction of what a live action movie would cost. But it's what still baffles me though is another thing about this cartoon. It really. It seems reasonable that they were able to get the original cast to come back and voice their parts respectively, but with the exception of there's a really major name in the show, Alec Baldwin is the main cast member as the villain, Leonardo. And I cannot.
Doing his best, Alan Rickman, clearly. It's very much a Hans Gruber character.
It is very much, and the funny thing about that is that Alan Rickman was originally cast in the part and had recorded lines for the pilot, but I'm not sure whose call it was. I don't know if it was Kevin's call or somebody at ABC, but they didn't. They just felt that Rickman didn't capture the character, and so they ended up going with Alec Baldwin. But yeah, apparently, Rickman was actually originally cast and Kevin had previously worked with him in Dogma. But yeah, it is a very he looks exactly like Hans Gruber and acts very much like Hans Gruber. But, yeah. It's crazy. He kind of feels and like just like that joke they had made about it feels like a Simpsons ripoff. Like he really does kind of fill the Mr. Burns role of this show.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, and they're right in their criticisms of it, of saying that it's like a Simpsons thing, because it honestly feels like a little bit of Simpsons, a little bit of Family Guy, just enough that it's just sort of like it's nonlinear. It's very nonlinear, and it follows those tropes.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, it even has those kind of, and this was sort of this wasn't pre-Family Guy, but it was like kind of around the same time. So it
was within a year or two.
Yeah, it was like within the same within the like kind of the same vicinity there, and this you can kind of see the similarities where this show. Not exactly the same kind of cutaway humor, but very sort of similar. Like there's one episode where the whole episode is a series of flashbacks to
the second episode, which is just perfect.
Yeah, so they flash back to the first episode. That's all they have to work with.
But it is almost crazy that it didn't succeed, given granted, there was so much against it, like, the Weinsteins. It was on Disney, it was on ABC and all that. But given the time and the place, we're talking like this is the heyday of Family Guy, of Futurama. Futurama was in full swing at this time. Like cartoons, primetime adult cartoons were sort of in their golden age. So it should have worked.
It really should have, yeah, and it's crazy that it didn't. I mean, and the thing is, they actually mentioned this on. Actually, I want to point out the commentary for the DVD. If any of you guys ever get to pick up the DVD, the commentary, there's commentary for each episode, but in total, I think the full 6 episodes are maybe like 2 hours. If you can go through all of them and listen to that commentary, it's one of the best commentaries I've ever heard on a DVD. But it's essentially everybody that worked on the show is on this commentary. I mean, not just Kevin and Jeff and Brian and everybody. I mean, even like the Dave Mandel, the executive producer, and supervising animators and character designers, and which their names escape me. I'm sorry, but it's it's really fascinating to listen to. But they actually mentioned during that commentary, Kevin had mentioned that at one point in time. When at one point in time they had gotten an offer from UPN to produce, I think it was like a full 13 episode first season, but they were like,
that would have worked. UPN was sort of like the stream savior back then in the early 2000s. When Buffy got canceled, UPN picked it up. It was sort of like UPN will just take whatever's left and we'll run it there.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And I mean, at the time, UPN had. I mean, I think like they're. I mean, no disrespect to these shows. I mean, they're awesome, but I mean, like I think their big shows at the time were like Moesha and the Parkers, and
it was a strange little network that didn't really know what it wanted to be, so it just kind of picked up everything. And it got lucky with things like Buffy. I think the final 2 seasons of Buffy ended up on UPN, and it was a strange fit. But it worked. It gave new life.
Yeah, it really did, and it's Kevin even mentions during the commentary that he thinks that had they gone with UPN, they probably would have gotten to like a 2nd or 3rd season, because
I wouldn't have been surprised. And it may have been the better move, but with loyalties and the Weinsteins and Disney, it suddenly becomes way more complex.
It really does, and they were thinking. I mean, ABC is such UPN is kind of that small, that smaller independent network, whereas ABC is like one of the big 3. ABC, NBC, CBS. So it's it's like they wanted to really capitalize on that.
Well, it's one of the downsides. Again, one of the downsides of playing with the big leagues, because his name was so attached to the Weinsteins. This is the second time, and listeners will get it from our last episodes. This is the second time the Weinsteins have complicated something they've been attached to. Had the Weinsteins not been attached, this thing would have had more freedom.
It absolutely would have, and they would have. I mean, I really think it would have gone on to be something much more than what it was. But it's a shame that it's just really a shame that it had to go so soon, because there's some really great humor in there. But I also feel like part of also what kind of doomed it was the first episode that they aired was the fourth episode, the courtroom episode,
right?
Which, is fun, which is a great episode. It's hilarious, but there's a lot of callbacks in that episode to ones that have come before it. So, it really
makes no sense. A lot of, and it's like, you're going to stack the deck against the show. That's exactly how you start.
Exactly, and it's and then the second episode that aired was actually the second episode, which is which the entire joke of the second episode is that they flash back to the first episode, which has not aired. So
right, really, so no wonder everybody laughed. Like, this is completely nonsensical. What are they talking about? Are they going to keep this up? Why am I watching? It's like, they screwed him over right off the bat, which sucks, because stuff like this feels like it keeps happening to Kevin. Like he's really good, but studios and things like that just keep, I don't know, like jinxing him for some strange reason. And he's gotten better of these. He's learned to, the second renaissance of Kevin, he's learned to be independent. He doesn't tie himself to anything. And it means he's gotten smaller, but at least we don't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the really great things I think about Reboot, because it's it's in it itself is a very indie movie. It was a $10 million budget, but at the same time, it was produced by Saban Films, who produced the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and that's like the only other big thing in their repertoire, I think, for right now.
Which is a joke in the Reboot. Yeah.
It is, yes. It's hilarious, but so but it's funny how it's like he's got, since he's been able to kind of dip his foot into the big studio movies, and has had experience directing big budget films, and even experience as a director for hire for Cop Out, and just all of these different films that he's met all of these people, these wonderful actors, producers, the crew members that have also worked on these big budget movies, and they came back to help him out for Reboot as a favor to him, because he's such a great dude. So it's like such big names, like at the time, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were affordable for Dogma, because they weren't nearly as famous as they are now. But,
right on the edge of being affordable.
yeah. So it's like, now it's like, good Lord. I know for a fact that they did it as a favor to Kevin. But
if you look at the trivia for the Clerks cartoon, apparently there's going to be a running joke where Ben Affleck was going to be a recurring character that claimed he was the King of Canada, but the show got canceled. So Ben Affleck was actually going to be on the show.
He was, yes, and they actually.
I don't think Ben Affleck has ever had anything to do with any cartoon ever.
Yeah.
So this would be kind of big.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I don't think he's ever voiced a character before, so that would really have been interesting.
Which is not his style.
Yeah, they do mention Affleck a couple times throughout the show, but he's never actually made an appearance. Which, it's crazy. And also, we had mentioned Alec Baldwin. There's also a lot of Baldwin was the only main cast member that was of that high caliber, but there were a lot of celebrity cameos throughout the course of the show. Like there's Jerry Seinfeld is in an episode, and and Gwyneth Paltrow, Gilbert Gottfried.
Because he's just pulling from his friends. Kevin is one of the few people that can take out his Rolodex and ask for a favor and actually get it. Even if about half the time he makes fun of them. I know they flat out make fun of Jerry Seinfeld in an episode, but he still shows up.
Exactly.
And it's crazy. But we're going to take a small break and then dive deeper into the world of the Clerks cartoon. So hang with us. We'll be right back.
See you soon. Hey guys, we're back here with an Askew View, talking about Clerks, the animated series. So next, I would like to point out a lot of some of the younger viewers may notice a lot of the characters in the Clerks cartoon or at least the design, look very similar to another very popular early 2000s cartoon on the Disney Channel called Kim Possible. And I had actually brought this up with you earlier, Jordan, and I know you said, like, well, I never really noticed it before, but you're right, and that's because
you're absolutely right. It's there, the outlines and everything. It's very much so the way they're drawn. And I guess I didn't get the timelines right in my head. I assumed Kim Possible was already out at the time Clerks was out, but I guess it was Clerks and then Kim Possible.
It was. I think Kim Possible was maybe 2002, like shortly after. But I'm gonna have to look up this gentleman's name. His name escapes me. But the lead character designer for Clerks that had actually gone on to be the lead character designer for Kim Possible, which ended up being which is a wonderful show that ended up going on for many seasons on Disney Channel. And just recently, last year, they kind of gave it a bit of a live action reboot, I think. But yeah, it's a real staple of 2000s television, and it's crazy to think that that's really the same style of animation, the same body type, the same outlines, still appear. And I mean, even though they were kind of very short-lived in this animated series, they lived on in the Kim Possible series.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's just something about, like, the quality of talent that was involved with this show. I mean, they were underdogs back then, but he clearly has an eye for talent.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's strange if you look through and we were talking about this a little bit before, if you look through the cast list, and yes, there's some big names in there. We were talking about, like, Jerry Seinfeld and Gwyneth Paltrow and all that. But if you look at beyond that, like, Phil Lamar is in there.
Oh,
which
yeah, you're right.
Now, keep in mind, this was at the peak of Futurama, where he was a regular character in Futurama. But with this, he plays Axel Foley, which has, like, maybe 3 lines, but he got Phil Lamar for that role.
You're right. That is Phil. That totally escaped. That is Phil Lamar. I didn't even think of that. You're right. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy that he that was able to pass. And I mean, it's looking at it. Another name that's in there. James Woods actually pops up in an episode. He's in the virus episode, the outbreak.
That's right.
Yeah. He's one of the doctors that kind of diagnoses them.
So here's the thing. I'm actually looking. I've got the I was watching the DVDs before because it just seemed like the right idea, and I actually have an image paused on my screen. And it said the following television show is entirely fictitious. Any similarity to the history of any person, lived or dead, or any actual events is entirely coincidental and unintentional. So they're putting this massive disclaimer on there, almost like a South Park disclaimer. Like, all voices are entirely made up, but half the voices are the real people. It's like the real people are doing caricatures of themselves. You could have told me the guy doing James Woods was just some random actor doing a James Woods impression, and I would have believed you.
Yeah, it's crazy how they were able to do that, and it's really like, I don't know, it's
well, it almost fools the audience. It's always tongue in cheek. I mean, that's the thing about Kevin and his work. It's insanely tongue in cheek. Watching the DVDs, before almost every episode, there's a intro with Jay and Silent Bob, like a real video intro, where they keep mentioning, we're here in our nice palatial mansion that we bought with our, sweet Clerks cartoon money.
Like, and then if you get to, what's hilarious is if you get to the end, it turns out that it's not even their house.
Well, then love pulling that. It's like with the Dogma DVD. You know, you spend half the Dogma DVD with the disc telling you to not watch the movie. Like,
There's so much in those DVDs from like the early 2000s that Kevin put out. I mean, all of them really were just so jam packed with content. Like you could spend hours just going through. I mean, not even the deleted scenes and the commentaries and the behind the scenes featurettes, but just the menus themselves were designed, like you mentioned with Dogma, and even with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, like they had that as well, where, you know, it was like little interludes with the characters speaking to you and stuff. It's, you know, there's
because he cares. Stuff. He knows it's an experience, and he gets all of it, but it makes even more sense. And it's even funnier if you know the history with everything. Like, some random person picks this up. They may not get the whole, like, with our fat Clerks cartoon money, like, they're not going to know that it got canceled after 2 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know,
but if you get it, if you're in on a joke, then it's so much funnier.
Yeah.
I always think of one of my favorite things in Dogma, which we were talking about last week, with the Holy Bartender line. It's one of those things, it's really simple, but like Jay's reaction about 2 minutes later, like, Holy Bartender, I get it. That's great. Like, that's funny as hell. Like, and that's the way it is with so much of his work. Like, oh, no way. That's hilarious.
Yeah. There's even moments like that especially with Jay. Like, Jason Mewes' performance in this series is one of my favorite. Like, it features some of my favorite Jay moments. Like, and it's weird.
His delivery is just perfect.
Yeah, it is, and it's so weird because, you know, like, Jay is the most foul-mouthed character in these movies, but I mean, he can't be in this version, but it's still just so funny. Like, there's that episode where it's the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom parody, and they're going to the cave to rescue Randall, and Jay is just the guy outside the cave is like, "Oh, are you guys here for the delivery?" And Jay says, "Oh, we got a delivery, all right. I found a delivery of pain."
So I'm looking through the trivia, and apparently Disney and all that bought the show before they realized that Jay and Silent Bob were drug dealers, which is, I don't know how you do that. Like, do they just like, here, oh yeah, they're popular, they got a movie out, let's sign them. Let's not learn anything about these characters we just bought and give them a primetime TV show on a family network.
Exactly. And that's another crazy thing too, is because, yes, you're absolutely right about that. That's why in the show, Jay and Silent Bob in the series are not selling drugs, they're selling fireworks.
Right.
And and not only, and it's crazy because they were also, when that happened, Disney had actually also approached them. This actually never came to fruition, thank God. But they were actually approached to do a spin-off for the ABC Saturday mornings, and it was going to be called Lil Clerks, like Lil Clerks.
That would have been a dumpster fire. There's no way that would have worked.
It was going to be basically, it was going to be all the characters just as children. So, you know, like Dante and Randall would.
What the hell are you going to do? Like, have Dante and Randall talk about going down on themselves? And that would be great for 6-year-olds.
At age 8, you know?
Yeah. So many discussions would happen.
Yeah. Just when I heard that, I was like, all of this is in the commentary, but yeah, like when I heard that, I was like, how could you even begin to consider that? It makes no sense.
Because, you know, there's one executive somewhere in Disney or ABC that's a real fan and wanted to make points with his boss, and the boss just wasn't paying attention and just signed off on it.
Yeah, it's just some of the weird just, you know, things that were to come out of this, and that
I think animation fits Kevin Smith well. It's a nice fit, and obviously he's going to more. I mean, he's working on the He-Man thing, so he's comfortable in animation. Well, he's also worked with comics, so he's very comfortable in animation. But it just within the View Askew universe, it's just wrong place, wrong time, and that had to be it. Yeah. And maybe it's not. That's with the Clerks. Maybe Jay and Silent Bob really are the ideal. You know, they've had Strike Back and Roadshow and Reboot and all that, but maybe having them be the focus, which is already kind of cartoony, that would work. But focusing on the Clerks might be too grounded. It's like if they just shifted it a little, it may have worked perfect.
Yeah, I feel that too. And like honestly, for years, I've been thinking. I mean, I don't know if he'd be down for this or not, but I mean, I've been thinking for years it would be. I feel like Mallrats would be the perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
Series.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just the everyday musings of just those characters that just it would, like every episode would just be set in the mall. I mean.
And it's already kind of cartoony. I mean, like they beat up the Easter Bunny. Yeah, that's it totally works, and the sound effects and everything just it would absolutely work as a cartoon. 100%. Like I feel like that would be the perfect one. Out of all the movies, I felt like that would be the perfect one to showcase as an animated series. I mean, Chasing Amy's out. That would never work. Oh, but Mallrats definitely.
But that reboot point that they made about it being a Netflix series, I would love to see that.
That's perfect. Yeah.
If that ever comes to fruition, I would love to see that.
It's a new age. It's a new era. Why the hell not? And I would be. Yeah. We talked about this in a previous episode, but I would be greatly surprised if that wasn't already brought up. Someone somewhere is floating that idea. It just makes total sense.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there's somebody.
And he's meta enough that's probably a real thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if here in a couple years that actually did come to fruition.
The one movie that I'm going to say is off limits for being a cartoon is Tusk. That's no, never. Tusk and Red State, that's just off the board.
I'd watch it.
Of course you would.
When we get to the episode, if we ever get to the episode that covers Tusk, I'm going to make you watch this movie.
Oh, I know you are. I love Kevin. I love View Askew. I love all that. Tusk just scares the hell out of me. But I will watch it for the cause.
When I watched it for the first time, it scared the hell out of me. I don't get nightmares, but that movie did.
You're filling me with encouragement. All right, so let's get back to the cartoon. The obvious question, because this came before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, is how much did one affect the other? Because I see bits of the cartoon in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like, it's definitely just random and weird enough, and the focus is on Jay and Silent Bob, that I think one kind of fed off the other.
They really did, and there's actually even some, they ended up being cut from the final movie, but you can see them on the DVD. There's actually some scenes that were shot for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back that directly reference the cartoon, and it's hilarious. Like there's when Dante and during the Dante and Randall moments, somewhere Randall makes a quip about you see, man, if you were funnier than that, ABC never would have canceled us.
Well, they did make and it wasn't cut. They did make a reference like, I heard you two got married, and and that was an episode, or that was a brief
that's an episode.
Thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So I mean, like, I love it when they at least acknowledge the cartoon, because it seems strange to just maybe not canon, but at least make it a part of it, because it feels ignored even by View Askew.
Yeah.
Well, the movie View Askew universe.
Yeah, really, and it's even a lot of people didn't really catch this, but even Reboot in its own little way does a callback to the cartoon as well. Jay's hat in the movie, if you pay attention in Reboot, Jay's hat has a pin on it of the driving bear. So it's like, you know, so there's really I just saw it again last night and I happened to notice, but
so that's genius. It's just small enough where, like, if you notice it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, that's one of the things I love about Kevin. He hides these, you know, Easter eggs that really only the really deepest of deep cut fans would ever catch, but they catch them. And I actually, that was another thing when I saw when I went to see Reboot last night. There was another reference I caught. There is actually a reference in that movie to Brian Johnson's film Vulgar about the clown, and I did not catch that first.
Well, that's very obscure. Yeah.
Yeah, but but I caught it last night. Brian O'Halloran, who plays Vulgar the clown in that film, he there's a comment that he makes during the movie that is a direct reference to Vulgar, and I didn't catch it at first, but I was like, wow, I'm just mentioning that as like a testament to Kevin's, like he really puts these crazy details in all of his stuff, you know.
Well, I mean, speaking of Reboot, next week we're going to be talking about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and it seems like the perfect segue to go from the cartoon to that. So, I mean, we're really looking forward to diving into that, and it's going to be so much more detail, too, because with only 6 episodes of the cartoon at 20 minutes each, it's broad strokes. But with Strike Back, I mean, it's going to be a deep dive.
Oh, yeah. Strike Back is like a no holds barred.
So make sure you're listening, and we hope to have you there. It's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we can't wait to talk to you again. And this has been our Askew View.